Know it's going to be there. You know it's going to come from that price area. That's why we shouted it. Little bit of liquidity. If we could have got a little bit more on that, but we didn't. We did get a trap because we got sellers coming in ahead of that level. So there's the trap there. You'll see it better on a 1 minute chart. So there's the trap setting up there. See it? Sellers coming in. Sellers coming in. There's the trap. There's your sell trade there, guys. There's your sell trade there. And there's your outcome. That is lovely, isn't it? Absolutely spot on. And then all you do is you take your measure move from the top of the bracket to the bottom of the bracket, and you start working your way towards that target price area there. And that is exactly how you trade that. It's got a little trap, it's got everything you ever wanted. They even came up and stopped you out for a scratch and then allowed you to come back in again. How good of them at 1 tick lower or 2 ticks lower, so you had to do a wee bit of work. But still a great trade, guys. Absolutely fantastic trade. In terms of how the volume developed, again, this has been one of our key threads this week, hasn't it? This idea of volumes. There's a lot of volume in this, so I don't want to sell that one. In fact, the buy volume's been increasing in the last sequence, hasn't it? The buy volume's kind of been going up like that from these points here. So I don't want to be selling that phase. That's not going to be good enough. The volume on the offer, however, is also relatively strong. Then the volume on the bid evaporates, completely and utterly evaporates. Look, the volume that's coming in here is almost non-existent. So obviously, based on the fact that that price is non-existent into the highs, we'll at least be coming back to the area where we saw this last bigger volume, and that's into the lows. So we know the price will trade back towards this print here. And that's exactly where the price trades to. Now, obviously, if the volume picks up, which it did, we can expect the price to trade through. Price traded through. We didn't quite make measure because of why? Because the volume's dropped off too quickly. The lack of volume on the uptick is good news for the sell because it means that we're going to be coming back to that price for sure. We'll have another try at it. And we'll see if we can get a little bit of a pop back down towards this bottom print target price. And with the volume coming off on the bid, you'd imagine that selling back into maybe a little top line, pullback trade at 80s would make a lot of sense just now. And that would be where we'd find a little bit of volume if we could just get a little grab above 80. And if the value develops on that side, we can obviously see the price now trading 74s. And that'll give us the perfect top edge sell trade opportunity, yeah. So again, that volume story again coming out to tell us exactly what to do. How many times have we seen this in the last few days? Well, because we've been focused on it, we've seen it a lot. Now, in terms of book liquidity, the book liquidity at the moment is slightly more bullish than bearish, but it's only just. So I'd expect the price to at least come off this 77 print and go higher. Well, that's exactly what it's doing. So it's just slightly more bullish than bearish, but it is fair value balanced around about this area. So I'm waiting to see if we can get a real good change of the market makers' attitudes on this one. They still think the price is going up at the moment, so I still think the price is going to go up through this 80 print at the moment, and that's what's happening, guys. That's exactly what's happening. So you can see that a little bit of knowledge about the book, for example, a little bit about knowledge about the structures, a little bit of knowledge about everything else, trading becomes really quite simple. All you've got to do is try and make sure you stay with the storyline, keep building the storyline, keep looking, doing the necessary amount of work to be the best you can be. Who was it that said that learning was remembering? Socrates. Socrates said remembering, learning is remembering. And when you think about all the mistakes that you guys make, if you've been making mistakes, it's usually because you've forgotten something, isn't it? It's not a mistake per se because you just simply didn't remember about it. The idea is that we should be able to remember stuff because that's how you learn stuff. If you keep forgetting about the basics of volume, for example, you're going to start missing out on some of these opportunities. You're going to start missing out on some of these very, very simple trades that we need to be taking part in as traders. And that's the kind of things that we need to make sure we capitalize on, because we don't get great chances very often. We get good chances often, but we don't get great chances very often. And obviously selling into that pullback, into that trade that we already told you about, and then the possibility of selling into the 80, obviously has already had a spring sell off of that 80s back to 75s. But as I said, the dealers haven't given up on this going above, and they've taken it above as expected. I did say the dealers were going to try and take it above 80, and that's exactly what they've just done. And now that they've taken it above 80, that gives us an opportunity to work back against that print at higher levels, and just take a little lean and get a scalp trade going. Just take a little lean, get a scalp trade going, and see if we can take it back down again. See if we can keep the value back on this. Now I keep watching the market makers to see what they're doing with this. And at the moment they're building a sell, so that's good news for me on a sell trade at the moment. So at the moment the market makers are building a sell trade, albeit very small, but still more sellable than buyable just at this point. And as a result, happy to sell in at higher prices. We've just been scratched on that at +1, and we'll maybe think about going again and watching to see if they're still doing the same trade. And at the moment they're about fair value on a buy side at the moment, slightly edging towards the buy, so I'm not reselling it just yet. I'm only going to resell it if they flip back against that trade. The trade I'm thinking about just now is the market maker's top line is 63.5. So that's where the kind of trade was resting for me, 63 halves. And yep, that's the kind of trade ideas that we're developing into just now. So just working the sell side at the moment. The gamma, by the way, is still marginally positive. It hasn't gone negative today, so the gamma side has been marginally positive. You can see from our gamma line that there was a bit of value in this as the price dropped back down to this previous level here, wasn't there? So you can already recognize that the gamma was still building a little bit of upside value. Not a lot, but a little bit.